Viki started out as a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley in 2010. It has grown into an influential video streaming site offering various entertainment contents including TV shows, movies, and music videos from around the world.
Viki is an online TV site that has TV shows and movies from all over the world, translated into more than 150 languages.
What differentiates Viki from other video streaming platforms is that there are communities of contributors who voluntarily translate the video contents into various languages so that they can reach wider audiences.
Share your favorite shows, movies, or music videos with friends on Facebook or Twitter. Viki is fun in any language.
Viki offers quality contents to millions of users from around the world, and it's setting a new trend in how contents are delivered. It is an international community bringing together fans of global entertainment contents from all corners of the world. Earlier this year, Tammy Nam was appointed as the CEO of Viki. With vast expertise and experience in operating and performing marketing for venture capital firms, she is one of the few female CEOs in the media industry who empowers other leaders to unite communities through the art of language.
The spirit of Silicon Valley is openness, and anyone can make it if you have a really great idea. I hope that we can contribute, at least in some small part, to making the world a better place together.
On today's interview, we spoke with Tammy Nam, who is striving to break down the language and cultural barriers even further. Stay with us to witness her efforts to connect content creators and providers with the fans of global entertainment.
Tammy, thank you very much for being here. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really honored.
This isn't your first time visit to Korea, is it? You travel a lot.
I travel a lot for business because our company is global and we have offices all throughout Asia. So I'm used to coming to Korea maybe twice a year.
Wow.
Not twice a year.
Okay, and was there a special occasion for your last visit to Korea?
I came to Korea this week, actually, because I recently became CEO of the company, of Viki. And I wanted to make sure to come here and meet with all of our content partners. I'm also meeting with people who are involved in the production industry, producers, directors, just to get a better understanding of the business.
You just mentioned that you just became a CEO of Viki. Would you briefly explain what your company does, including the meaning behind Viki?
Viki is a website that has TV shows from around the world. And Viki is a combination of video and wiki. Mm-hmm. So the reason why it's video and wiki is because people not only watch the videos, but they subtitle the videos in many different languages. Mm-hmm. So it's a contribution from viewers from all over the world.
When Viki was first established, it wasn't this form of global TV. It was more to help the foreign students to learn the language, wasn't it?
It was a class project by students from Stanford and Harvard, mm-hmm. 3 students from Stanford and Harvard. Mm-hmm. 2 of them were married, a Korean couple. And they started the company as a class project for language learning. Mm-hmm. So they started and allowed people to, they built a technology that allowed people to subtitle on YouTube videos. And what became very clear very quickly is that people wanted to subtitle on popular entertainment. Mm-hmm. And some of that popular entertainment happened to be Korean dramas or clips of Korean dramas. Mm-hmm. So they identified an opportunity to start a business, and that was the genesis of Viki.
You just mentioned that they make their own subtitles. And if you look at the subtitles, it doesn't look like it was done by amateurs. The level of subtitle is quite professional. How is that possible?
the fans are very passionate about the quality of the subtitles. So they will go out of their way to make sure that it's accurate grammatically and also subject matter expertise. So they will actually literally recruit people who are subject matter experts in whatever that topic it is. So if it's a medical drama, they might recruit a nurse or a doctor to explain the translation of very specific words. So they're more passionate than any professional subtitler could be. And the way that it works on Viki is that it's a channel team structure. So there are channel managers and there are people who are editors in various languages, and it's the power of the crowd. So if you have hundreds of people contributing to the quality of the subtitles, then the quality becomes really good, especially over time.
Wow. And how many visitors actually tune in on a daily basis?
We have about 40 million viewers a month.
Wow.
So we have about 40
Okay.
million viewers a month, and they come from all over.
What kind of visitors visit Viki?
So we have a very global audience.
Right.
About 30% of our viewers come from the U.S. And then followed by Europe and Latin America.
Wow.
Majority are about 70% women,
Wow.
and the biggest age group is what they call millennials. So it's people who are from 18 to 34.
Okay.
So very young audience, highly educated and high household income.
Oh, wow.
So very educated, and it's also reflective of the Viki employee base too. So we have employees that are very young from very diverse backgrounds who love Asian dramas.
How are the videos get posted on your platform? Who gets to decide?
So we have a content licensing team, and that team determines, along with the content marketing and programming teams, which shows we want to license.
Okay.
So historically, Viki has been very good with and has had a lot of Asian dramas. So that would be TV shows primarily from Korea, China, Japan, Taiwan, and increasingly more from Southeast Asia and other countries like Turkey, etc. So the Asian dramas have been most popular. We've also had U.S. shows, shows from the BBC, NBC, but they're not as popular.
Oh, that's surprising. Why do you think Korean contents are receiving such a positive response from all around the world?
I think the Korean content has very high production, so the quality of the content is really good, number one. I think there's a lot of the themes are very universal, so it's romance and drama and young love. So a lot of people can relate to that regardless of where they're coming from. I think also the people in the Korean dramas are very good looking. As a Korean American or someone who is of Korean descent, it's interesting that I've sort of come full circle. I grew up in the United States. I was very young when my family moved there, and my family, I think, never anticipated that Korean entertainment would become so globally popular. So it's fascinating that here we are today. And my husband, who's also Korean, is very happy that Korean men are now international sex symbols. He never thought that would happen.
No, me neither, to be honest.
So it's amazing. I know that over the last maybe 10, 15 years or more, there's been more adaptations of Korean films.
Right. Like The Old Boys.
Exactly, exactly. And what's happening now and recently is adaptations of Korean dramas, which I think shows also a global trend toward serialized TV programming and less on films.
We must mention K-pop because it's just as important as K-dramas. It's kind of an obvious question, but what was the most popular music video that has been posted on Viki?
Oh, it was definitely Psy, Gangnam Style. It was popular in, I can't think of a place where it was not popular. That is how amazing that video was. What we found was that on Viki, when the video was subtitled in a language, it would follow, some of the popularity would follow. So if it was subtitled in Greek or, Hebrew or Estonian or whatever language, it would help to socialize that video among people who could better understand the words.
You joined Viki in 2011 and Gangnam Style happened in 2012, which is not too long after you joined Viki. And all of a sudden Gangnam Style happened. What went through your mind? Were you like, oh my God, we hit the jackpot? Because Gangnam Style was kind of a turning point for Viki as well as it was for Psy, wasn't it?
I think Gangnam Style showed the world how popular Korean entertainment could be, or there was a great halo effect of Gangnam Style. So there was a lot of press coverage and attention to Korean entertainment in general. So K-pop, Korean dramas, the general export of Korean entertainment and culture. So I think that Gangnam Style was a great ambassador for the country, and it was so entertaining. So it was an amazing phenomenon.
Have you ever met Psy in person?
I've never met him in person. No.
Is he even aware of how much Viki contributed to his success?
Well, I think it initially became really popular on YouTube. It started to get popularity on YouTube, and then it got onto Viki, and hopefully we made it even more popular with the addition of the subtitles and access to many more people around the world. He's so probably rich and famous at this point that I don't even know if he knows what Viki is. But hopefully, one of the things that I would like to do is to educate, I guess, the Korean entertainment industry and influencers inside Korea how much of a positive impact that a platform like Viki can have on the export of culture and entertainment. That's one of the reasons why I joined Viki in the first place. It's because the vision of the company is very inspiring. So if you think about how popular entertainment is such a great ambassador for culture around the world, and how Hollywood, for example, contributed to the good perception and feeling about U.S. culture. I think the Korean dramas and K-pop is doing the same thing for Korea.
액션! 커트!
This is what happens on a drama filming set, with production crew and cast members hastily preparing for the day's shoot. And this was Tammy Nam's first official stop during her visit to see how Korean dramas, the most popular contents on Viki, are made.
I'm interested in learning more about the K-drama production process, and Mr. Lee, the director, was nice enough to invite me to the set. It would be good for the Viki fans to see that Viki is in touch with the entire K-drama production process, and they're huge fans worldwide, so I'm looking forward to telling them more about it too.
The invitation was sent by the director, Lee Hyung-min, whose 2010 drama Bad Man was presented to the global fans on Viki. With a myriad of contents available on Viki, one of the key determinants of the size of the audience for a video is the number of languages it's translated into. Bad Man, one of the first Korean dramas to be streamed on Viki, was translated into some 40 languages, which attests to its immense popularity worldwide.
Yeah. Say hello to Tammy. Yes.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, in the actual seat? Okay.
앉으셔서 모니터 보면
The drama being filmed is an adaptation of a fantasy romance webtoon titled Orange Marmalade, set in a world where vampires and humans coexist. Scheduled to air this coming May, it's already drawing considerable attention online with its star-studded cast, including Jin-gu and Seol-hyun.
이 순간 기억 속에만 존재하는 너라서 마리아!
자꾸 생각난다. 자꾸 보고 싶다.
아시아뿐만 아니라 유럽이나 미주 지역에서도 한국 드라마나 영화, 한국의 예능 프로, 한국의 음악을 좋아한다고 하니까 만드는 사람 입장에서는 굉장히 기분 좋은 일이죠. 한국 아티스트들이 세계로 뻗어나갈 수 있게 그렇게 좀 서로 이렇게 윈이 난다고나 할까? 그런 계기가 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
Korean dramas are one of the most popular genres on Viki, which receives 40 million unique visitors from around the world a month. The CEO of the global TV site had a chance to witness how Korean dramas are made and to speak with the cast members of this particular drama.
Yes.
You're so young.
He's preparing, SAT right now.
You're so busy. So busy.
Yes.
And you're so busy too, being in the band,
She is,
music group.
Yes.
Oh.
AOA
Yeah.
is very famous.
Right.
So Vicky is a website.
It's no secret there's been a global boom of Korean culture and entertainment, and many people across generations and nationalities have discovered K-entertainment through Viki, a promising new platform for delivering quality entertainment contents.
아마 아시아 쪽에서만 활동을 하고 있는데 유럽이나 이제 미국 쪽으로도 가고 싶은 마음이 있습니다.
한국 드라마나 모든 문화를 사랑해 주시는 분들에게 저도 어쨌든 새로운 모습 보여드리기 위해서 더 열심히 최선을 다하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
So after checking out a Korean drama shoot for the first time, how did she feel about this special experience?
I think the storylines are very universal. So love and romance and the popular girl and the popular boy, and it's very wholesome too. So most K-dramas are very they appeal to a very broad audience. K-dramas are so popular on Viki that it was interesting to see it in action myself. I've been on set before, so it was very similar in that experience, but it was really nice to be able to talk to the actors in person.
With Tammy Nam as its CEO, the global TV site Viki will continue helping the creators of quality entertainment contents tap into the potential of worldwide streaming services to reach wider audiences across the world.
You were born in Korea with Korean name Kim Hyun-ju. How old were you when you left Korea and moved to the States?
I was about 5.
Was there a particular reason why your parents decided to move to the U.S.?
I think it was probably a very typical immigrant story at that time. So my parents wanted to give their children a better opportunity and raise their kids in Korea, learn English, and expose them to a bigger world of chances.
Your family settled down in California, but you were still very young. Do you remember what your childhood was like?
So we lived in a place that had it was mostly white, and the biggest minority group was Hispanic. So California has a lot of Mexican immigrants. So there were definitely no other Korean people, or very, very few other Korean people, let alone Asian people. So I grew up in probably a very typical American upbringing. And at that time, because my parents were so busy, they didn't have the opportunity to reinforce Korean language that much to their kids. My parents had their own business, so I would help them on the weekend, and I would do just study during the week and do school activities during the week. So I was always really busy. And I think it's very typical Korean American or Asian American parents and upbringing, the work ethic, study hard, become a doctor or a lawyer. I did not become either of those things, but it was all those qualities were reinforced when I was a kid.
That kind of discipline and hardworking ethic really showed on your grade. You were straight A students from the get-go, all throughout to college. Is that right?
Yes, so I was a straight A student, and I was part of the model minority, what they call in the United States. So hardworking, no trouble, great student, but you know that's all I knew, and I was very ambitious, even when I was a little kid. Not ambitious in a, you know, I need to be successful kind of way. I was ambitious in the way of wanting to do the best that I could. And I think I inherently understood that if I did that, then I would have a lot of choices that I could make.
You also managed to get involved in extracurricular activities. What were some of them?
I was the president of the German club in high school. I was the editor of the newspaper. I was in the school plays. So I did a lot of extracurricular activities.
And that naturally led to you choosing journalism in college. Why did you choose journalism? What was so interesting about it?
I chose journalism because I wanted to be a writer, and I thought it would be a practical way for me to make money as a writer. But I was very wrong. I was very wrong about that. Because even back then, in 1995, when I graduated from college, the newspaper business was already going down. And that's what I studied, was newspapers versus magazines or broadcast. And it was very clear that that industry was going down, and at the same time, the industry that was starting to come up was technology. So when I moved back to California, I got a job at a PR agency that specialized in technology companies and working with technology companies.
Okay, so being in journalism, you had a kind of natural transition to technology industry, would you say?
I think it was a natural transition to marketing, a field of marketing. So I understood how to take complex concepts like technology and to talk about them to average people in a way that they could understand. So that was the job, really.
Okay.
And back then, technology was much more complicated than it is today. I mean, Apple devices really weren't around. The iPhone, it was, even back then, I would say that big companies launching websites was news. So it was in the early days, and there was no such thing as mass adoption of consumer technology. So it was an interesting experience to be part of that early stage of Silicon Valley.
I see. What's Silicon Valley like? How did you prepare yourself before you jumped into Silicon Valley? Because it's a drastic change.
Yeah, you cannot prepare yourself to jump into Silicon Valley. Maybe today, because people are used to hearing stories about how Facebook was built and how Google was built, so they're exposed to that today. Back then, it was very new. Probably the most successful consumer technology story at that time was Netscape. It was an early browser technology. So it was still, you were considered a geek or a nerd if you were into that kind of thing. Now it's everyone, and it's ubiquitous. But then it was new, and it was complex, and it was still very deep technology driven. So it was microchips and algorithms and those kind of things that you had to understand and then explain.
You said you loved working in Silicon Valley because you're constantly surrounded by smart people.
So Max Levchin, when I met him, when I joined a company called Slide, Slide was the first really big a social entertainment company. I mean, these days there's like Zynga, and there's so many different companies that are entertainment apps on top of the Facebooks of the world. But back then, Slide was very popular on MySpace, and when MySpace was really popular, and then it became really popular on Facebook. Max started the company even after he was very successful in co-founding a company called PayPal. So he was very well known to start that company. Back then, I had just had my second child and was running my own marketing business of 5 years. And I decided I need to go back into Silicon Valley in a big way. And I chose to take a salary cut, take a title cut in order to go inside at a company like Slide and work for Max Levchin. He's one of the most brilliant entrepreneurs ever. He's very well known in the Valley as a godfather for entrepreneurs, even though he's only in his 30s. Just experience working with brilliant entrepreneurs like Max is you learn a lot from being exposed.
What was the most challenging experience that you had to face while you are working in Silicon Valley?
Silicon Valley is also, I mean, because it's so, there's so many people who are so brilliant. It's competitive, and you have to be smart yourself, and you have to keep up with what's going on, and you have to be fast. I think that's the speed is something that a lot of people don't really appreciate until you get into it. So the speed of innovation, the speed of decision making, it's speed.
You are one of the very few female CEOs in this tech sector. What do you think is the advantage or disadvantage of being the female CEO?
To be honest, I don't really think about it that much. And that's probably what you would hear a lot from female CEOs. Because if you did think about it, it might drive you crazy. But you do realize it, and you are keenly aware of it at times. For instance, because I travel a lot for business, I am in the plane, I'm at the hotels, and I notice that I'm often the only woman in those situations or at conferences. So that's when I'm aware, but it doesn't affect me.
Okay, do you think female CEOs in general put extra pressure or extra responsibility because they feel more needs to prove themselves to the society?
I can't speak for other women. For myself, I would say no. One of the reasons why I took this job is because I wanted to prove to myself.
I see.
I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. That's probably common among many women, is that there might be a lot of self-doubt or question whether their ability to do the job. That's probably pretty common.
You are one of the very few female CEOs in this tech sector. What was the first thing you changed after you became the CEO?
I think, every CEO wants to put their stamp on a company. And one of the ways that they do that is to figure out what the business strategy is going to be, or identify what the opportunities are. So the business opportunities, how do you get there, and put a plan together. So that's one of the first things that I did, was to look at the landscape, figure out what's going on in the competitively, what are our strengths and weaknesses, and how do we reach the 100 million monthly uniques, how do we reach the 100 million revenue, and then plot a path to get there. So that was my first 90 days, which, I'm still there here, first 90 days. And one of the things that you need to do immediately is to identify the operational changes that you need to make. So it's hiring, restructuring, that kind of thing. So the first quarter, I wanted to focus on internally, on restructuring, fixing processes, that kind of thing. And for the rest of the year, it will be on external partnerships and executing some very important projects we have coming up in the rest of the year.
What about the smaller changes, such as changing the furnitures or changing the wallpapers? Did you do any redecoration of Vicky?
No, it's not like, I guess that reminds me of the White House. Anytime there's a new administration, they change the China. No, we didn't really do anything like that, but one other milestone for the company was Vicky was chosen by the World Economic Forum as a technology pioneer in 2014.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And they give the award to startups that are contributing in positive ways to the world. And Vicky's platform was exposing new languages and new cultures through popular entertainment.
You exceeded as CMO in Vicky, and last year, when Mr. Razmikov Vahibian offered you his position, you actually turned it down once, didn't you?
I told him I didn't want to do the job.
Why not?
I think, it's a big responsibility. It's a big job. And he was very good at it. And I didn't know whether I wanted to take on that responsibility.
But now you say you're a better CEO than you were as a CMO. What do you mean by that?
I think CEOs should be really good at a couple of things. They need to be good at being able to articulate a clear vision for the company. They need to be able to understand how to operationally work toward that vision. And they need to identify the right people to hire in order to execute that vision. So I would say those are three strengths that I have. So hopefully it will lead Vicky into the right direction.
Looking back to when you were a kid, did you ever imagine that you'd be doing what you are doing now?
I didn't. I really thought I would be a writer, number one.
And what kind of writer did you want to be?
I thought I would be a novelist.
Any kind of novel, fiction? Or?
No, probably fiction. So I thought I would be a writer, but what I really wanted was I wanted to have a different life. I wanted it not to be boring. I wanted to have a not boring life, and I wanted to be happy. So, interestingly, my husband, who is the wisest person I know, said that the best way to be happy and also to contribute to the world is to do what you're really good at. And he told me, and one of the reasons why I decided to take this job is that you're really good at being a CEO, or you will be really good at being a CEO. So he said, you should do that.
Oh, that's really sweet. You kept mentioning about your husband. What kind of man is he, and what kind of job does he have in order to be such a supportive husband to you?
He's a fascinating man. He is what they would call a Renaissance man. So he has done and been really excellent at many different things. So he was a award-winning journalist. He taught international law at KAIST, actually.
Wow.
He was a M&A advisor, cross-border M&A advisor, and worked on several big deals. And he's written 3 books.
Wow.
So he's working on his 4th book right now.
Wow. Does he sometimes help out with the dishes, taking out garbages? I mean, to me, that's also a good example of being a supportive husband.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he's very supportive. He's very supportive of my career. He also helps at the house. He takes the kids to and from school. So he's really great at that. And we recently got a dog, and he takes the dog out. He's obsessed with the dog. And one of his books is on animal rights. He's an animal lover.
Oh,
so
wow.
he loves that dog.
I mean, people, get growing and getting old at different stages. They have a little different personality. But when I first met Tammy, the reason that I fell in love with her is that she's very loving and she's very embracing, and whatever personality or passion you have, and she's now very early 40, very very calm. So she always brings calm presence around her. And when I was 20, probably 30, even early 40, that her calm presence probably very very helpful for me, I think.
You are a working mother. How do you find balance between your profession and your family?
I think I'm really good at keeping the two worlds separate.
Oh, I see.
So when I'm at work, I focus on work, and when I'm at home, I focus on home most of the time. So I enjoy spending time with my kids, and I try to keep a balance. So during 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., I want to spend time with my kids and have dinner, even though I wind up, later, after 9 p.m. On conference calls with Singapore or Korea or Japan. So I wind up working quite late, but I try to reserve at least time, family time.
You and your husband have 2 kids, 2 children. Do you encourage them to explore their Korean heritage, or are they too busy studying?
It's funny because my husband was born and raised in Korea and educated and worked in Korea. I now happen to work for a company that has a lot of ties to Korea. But we never really reinforced the Korean thing. I think because my husband and I are very just easygoing and just go with the flow. But I do notice that as they have gotten older, so they're now 11 and 12, they're more interested in their Korean roots. They were fascinated with the whole Gangnam Style Psy music video phenomenon, and the fact that he was Korean. I think that as they get older, they will have more curiosity about their Korean roots.
But thanks to Vicky, you kind of had to reconnect with Korea. How did you feel to rediscover Korea?
I wish I paid more attention to Korean language when I was younger. When I married my husband, we talked about whether we should speak in Korean or English, and his English is so good and his vocabulary is better than mine that we decided we would speak in English. But looking back, it would have been very useful if we spoke in Korean. Then my Korean would be much better than it is today. But I never would have predicted that I would work for Viki is not a Korean company, but we have a lot of Korean content. We have a lot of fans of Korean content. So I never thought or expected that this would happen, and just suddenly it just happened. The busiest time for me during the workday is actually from about 5 p.m. to midnight. And that's because I do so much work with Asia. So especially around 9, 10, 11, I sometimes think, oh, this is a little too crazy. So at those times I think, it'd be nice to have a break. I believe that the world changes depending on your perspective. So change your perspective and the world will change. I am very good at living in the moment. So I don't look to the past and I don't look to the future. I focus on the moment. What I see often in running a business and having employees is that when you don't communicate with each other, people assume the worst. So I think communication is very critical. So that's what I try to reinforce among the employees and even in my kids, is just talk and be honest and ask questions. I'm really looking forward to building Viki and helping Viki to become the global TV, truly the global TV site that's powered by fans to make it as big as it possibly can be, and it should be.
You already achieved so much as a CEO and CMO. Is there any particular dream that you still like to achieve later in the future?
I would love for Vicky to be one of a handful of video destinations for consumers worldwide. So if you think about the number of video sites that people go to on a regular basis, it's really YouTube. For premium entertainment, maybe it's Netflix, maybe it's Hulu if you're in the US. Netflix is expanding globally. It might be a local video site. Vicky can be, and what I'm working toward is for Vicky to be one of those top 3. So that everyone knows that Vicky is a destination for global TV.
How close is Vicky to that goal?
It's popular among 40 million people, and we hope, and I think that it could be popular among 400 million, hopefully soon.
Wow. What's the next big project for Vicky this year, for instance?
We're launching a global TV show, global TV awards program that will be an offline event. So it will be, at a big theater in Los Angeles later this year, so we look forward to that. We are also launching, we're doing a major product update and innovation that will allow us to launch many more genres of content in the future. So that will be a major tech announcement later this year, and hopefully more on co-production.
Arirang TV can also be seen on Viki, and we are very happy to find out about that. Was there any content from Arirang TV that caught your eyes?
I think Arirang TV is a great fit for Vicky because our audience is similar. So there are many people who are Vicky fans and also Arirang fans who just love, Korean culture. So in that respect, I think it's very complementary. I think we only have a couple of shows from Arirang, and we look forward to getting more.
I know that you're gearing up your business to do more business with Korea. How do you planning to go about it?
We already license content from all the major Korean broadcasters. We have experimented with, and we have done some deals in the past that were co-productions, and we plan to do more co-productions in the future. In that respect, and also investing even more in Korean content, in addition to all the other global content. I think Korean will always be probably our number one. So despite the many different country of origins that we have on Viki, I predict that Korean will still be the most popular. And specifically Korean content has the opportunity to be the next Hollywood.
There is a huge market out there for Bollywood. And why would you say Asia is the next Hollywood?
I think there are pockets of interest in various content. What I see from the fan base of Asian content, and let's take Korean dramas for instance, is that these are people who are not Asian who are fans of the content. So the majority of people who are watching Asian content on Viki are not Asian. So they may be Caucasian or African American or something, but they're not necessarily Asian.
How can Korean content creators improve in order to gain another massive hit like Gangnam Style?
I think the Korean K-pop is already very popular, for example. I think K-pop, music is kind of universal, and somehow K-pop has tapped into something. It's massively popular worldwide. I think K-dramas have a very particular style. It is appealing to obviously a large viewership, but I think it can be appealing to an even broader viewership if there were some slight changes in the format or kind of more of an international appeal. So I think that will naturally happen over time. And I look forward to maybe even, having Vicky contribute to that evolution.
That's for us. Thank you very much for coming and all your insights. It was very interesting.
It was great meeting you. Thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you to the Viki community all over the world. Without you, there would be no Viki today. And we are looking forward to bringing you global TV and all the other videos that you love.
이러지 마. 내가 안 된다고 했잖아.
너 행복하게 해줄 수 있어. 그리고 난 돈이 진짜 많아.
내가 너랑 결혼할 수 없는 이유는 너에게 말하지 않은 사실이 있어.
상관없어. 난 너를 사랑하면 돼.
I'm Sean Richard, and this is Vicky. What's Vicky? Vicky is an online TV site that has TV shows and movies from all over the world, translated into more than 150 languages. How do we do it? All thanks to our amazing volunteers, like Stephanie. Thanks, Steph. 오빠, 상관없다고요?
What the?
Duck. Richard Duck. He's supposed to be testifying tomorrow.
I think he'll be pleading the fifth.
With the Viki mobile app, you can catch your favorite shows subtitled and on the go with any internet-connected device. Oh, this looks fun. Viki also does music. Share your favorite shows, movies, or music videos with friends on Facebook or Twitter. Leave time comments as you watch. Oh, thanks. With new videos every day and a constantly growing community of fans, Viki is fun in any language. Seriously, in any language.